Hi, and welcome to the 10 square meter workshop. Today it's going to be a construction project, and this is for something that a week ago I didn't know I wanted, because a week ago I didn't know it existed. It was one of those things, you see it, you want it. You know the feeling? Not enough to buy it, of course. It'll nearly £100, a bit pricey, and you have to buy an overpriced sander to fit it to. So what am I talking about? When sanding surfaces, the orbital sander is my go-to tool. But what about the edges? I have a belt sander which is great for small pieces, but for big pieces, it doesn't really work. It doesn't give an even sand for a start. Sanding edges with an orbital sander is not easy. It's difficult to keep it flat and level, the thing is after all rotating, and it's very hard to keep it square to the wood. What's needed is a jig for that, so let's build one. It all starts with this scrap of 18mm ply. My sander body is 79mm in diameters. Yours will probably be different, so I shall start with drilling a hole for that. You get a better finish cutting from both sides towards the middle. With the hole cut, the piece is marked out. It's easier to reference to the hole than it is to drill a hole to the reference. After cutting to size, it can now be parted, these lines shown. Though separated, it was at this point I discovered I'd drilled the wrong sized hole. So let's just make another one and not tell the foreman, eh? The second attempt was a nice smooth fit. The front and back frame pieces were then cut. The back frame was drilled and countersunk for screws, and the front main support for 6mm bolts. 6mm inserts were fitted into the arms. With the side frame screwed in place, the two knobs that will secure the other side were put in place and the lengths measured, so they could be cut to length with a hacksaw before being fitted in place. Next step was to relieve the side plate so the disc can spin. The removed piece was then inserted and it was drilled ready for screws, which were then fitted. The two parts now look like this. The edges were then all sanded and cutting the swinging arm pieces out of this bit of 6mm ply. This is actually a perfect part for making on a CNC machine, but I wanted this to be something anyone could make. I cut the two parts out as simple rectangles. I shall machine them together as a pair. The hinge bracket fits just below the cutout for the disc. That scallop on the top? Well, that comes from a previous operation that we're not going to talk about, right? Cannot waste the material. And here it is, screwed in place and sanded true. I shall be revisiting all the permanent joints with glue at a later stage. A 45-degree angle was put on the back of the pad, and the side plates shaped as such. Shaped as seen, and made the same width as this, the bottom was drilled 3mm and the top 6mm. Why? Because I'm going to use the circle jig I made in a previous video, see below, to make the quadrant. With the part secured between some scraps of wood and clamped down firmly, I put the pin on the circle jig in the 3mm hole and press firmly in, and then move it until the other hole is centered in the mount and clamp. I can now place the router over the part in position. I now power on, move to the correct depth and begin cutting. So that I'll know when I've finished, I put a pencil mark on the scrap wood. That's the end of the track. lifting the jig from the wood. Actually, it all comes off together. It's a pretty tight fit. And there we have our slot. Repeat for the other side and clean up with a needle file, and we have this. It's a good job I made the jigs in the order I did. I then opened up the 3mm hole to 6mm. I'm going to make all the hardware out of these two 6mm bolts and two wing nuts. Firstly, I carefully drilled 5mm holes to line up with the hole and slot. I'm going to be self-tapping these. A small edge filed into the end of the bolt, as can be seen here, makes this easier. If you have 6mm taps, of course use them, but this works quite well. Apply even downward pressure and run it in till it's tight. The top ones are done first. When it's firmly home, I cut the length of the bolt by hacksaw until around 15mm protruded. With both the tops installed, the remaining bolts were cut to around 25mm. With washers underneath, these were screwed into the lower holes and tightened until they were a sliding fit. With both sides done, the wing nuts could be fitted. It's now time to fit the pad between the two arms. Clamped in place, the screw holes can now be drilled. After clearance and countersunk, the screws can be fitted. And we're just about done. Normally it would be set to 90 degrees and tightened, but it can go up to 45. Fitting the jig is a simple process. This part is pushed in and rotated square. The other part is slotted in and the two screws engaged and tightened up. And there you have it, ready to go. So, what's it like to use? Well, very solid and positive. And you know you're getting a square edge. The shaped hole in the back and the two side pieces pressing closely on the edge of the frame means it holds it very rigidly. I thought I'd have to put extra packing pieces in the corners, but no, it is actually quite very well located. The adjustment allows everything from square to 45 degrees, which will handle most things. So, does the job, and all from the scrap box. I call that a win. Your sander may of course be a different shape, but hey, I'm sure you can manage to fit it. Why not give it a go? So, that's all for this time. I hope you found it interesting. Please subscribe for more. See you next time. Bye.